Welcome, everyone, to another SDH Network 1v1. I'm Madison Crews, and joined with me is play-by-play announcer for MLS Season Pass in Callum Williams. Callum, how are you today?
I'm good, Madison. Thanks for having me on. Very, very excited. Even though the off-season in Major League Soccer is one of the shortest in world football, it feels like it's been an eternity since we last kicked a ball in North America. So very, very excited to get
It really has. This, even especially too with MLS Cup only being like maybe 2 months ago. It feels like it's been an eternity. But what?
Yes, 87 days, I believe, was the last time we kicked a ball in this country.
Hey, glad to be back. But one thing that I'm interested in asking you, especially as we head into the 30th season of MLS, what are some of your biggest expectations or biggest things that you're looking towards, especially as we head into this new season?
Look, I mean, the one thing that I think has made an astronomical difference has been the way that Major League Soccer is now very much a part of the global football market. When I first started covering Major League Soccer, Madison, back in 2011, it did feel as though it was a completely different world. And every time that there would be a player linked with a European team, or in my case, an English team, my mind was blown and it didn't seem as though it was real. Now, it's very much part of the cause. There's players that are moving left, right, and centre, leaving Major League Soccer for the top leagues in Europe, but then the top players in Europe are also coming here now as well. So it's tremendous just to see the growth, and it almost comes at a perfect time, in my opinion, with the little thing that we've got next summer coming up with the FIFA World Cup in 2026. That's sort of a big deal, isn't it? So it comes at the perfect time, in my opinion. So it's been great to see that the salary cap has been sort of loosened as well. The domestic deals that are now allowed to be done with the internal transfers, I think, has made the league even more exciting and riveting as well. There was a couple of eye-watering transfers or trades. I'm not entirely sure what we're supposed to call them at the moment, but deals. We'll settle with that, shall we? Deals that were done internally in MLS that I thought, wow, this is a new age of Major League Soccer, and it's very, very exciting. But look, let's make no bones about it. Atlanta United are leading the way in terms of ushering Major League Soccer into this new realm.
One thing it's so interesting you mentioned that, since you've been covering MLS since 2011. What has it been like for you to see the growth of not only these teams, but also like these local networks coming up and now covering MLS a bit more? You're seeing a whole bunch of different things pop up. Like, what has it been like for you to see that growth?
It's been an astronomical turn. I thought, honestly, Madison, I thought we'd get to this stage at some point, but I didn't think we'd get to it this quickly. And there's an abundance of reasons as to why that's happened, right? And if we go through them, we'll be here all day. But it honestly has been wonderful to see how quickly the game is growing. I still spend a little bit of time in Europe and overseas for other bits of work. And the one thing which I've now noticed is how much Major League Soccer is a part of the conversation, where, sort of alluding to what I was saying earlier on, that was never really the case when I first came to the league. And so it's just become a part of the global footballing conversation. And so obviously growing it domestically is of vital importance. And I think that has grown really quickly as well. Markets like Atlanta, again, have led the way. And there are a handful that have had similar success locally as well. And look, there's still one or two markets that need a helping hand. We all know that. But overall, I think Major League Soccer is in the best place it's ever been. I will always remember, Madison, I came to America to be the voice of Sporting Kansas City back in 2011. And I was a ripe old 21-year-old, and I left the BBC and I got pelters. I got a lot of sort of friendly abuse from people, sort of suggesting that I was making a massive mistake and coming to America. No one cares about football, soccer over there. And I will always remember walking around Kansas City, and I had the Sporting Kansas City T-shirt on, the polo, the club polo that they gave us. And at that time, they had just rebranded. They were no longer the Kansas City Wizards, and there was a new stadium on the way, and it was all very exciting. But it hit me a little bit as to how much work we had to do when I was walking around Kansas City and nobody had any idea what it was. Nobody knew what Sporting Kansas City was. They didn't recognize the logo. Somebody mistook it for an indoor soccer team and a minor league hockey team. It was just, I like to call those the dark days of Major League Soccer. Those were interesting days. But look, I mean, that's just not the case anymore. And one of the markets, look, Kansas City led the way massively in those early days for sure. I think Minnesota have done a remarkable job. I think the LAFC franchise has done wonderful as well. There's been so many, Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, we could go on. There's been so many teams that have done so well in terms of marketing themselves and making themselves relevant in the market. But Atlanta United are the ones that stand out on top to come from absolutely nothing and have the success that they have done in terms of relevancy in a market is absolutely wonderful. Like, I don't know the exact number, Madison, but I keep hearing there's going to be 65,000 plus on opening day on Saturday. And if that's the case, well, there is a prime example as to how much people love and care about Atlanta United. And I think that's only a good thing for Major League Soccer. A good Atlanta United is good for Major League Soccer because that full stadium with the designated players that are on offer, with the standard of football that's on offer, this really could be anywhere in the world. And so I'm very, very excited to see Saturday. And I think it's going to be a very
It's interesting.
time.
We talked to Garth Lagerwey at that press conference with Latte Latte yesterday, and he said that there's still a couple tickets left and they're expecting and possibly it could be a sellout. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Wow.
But I know that, tickets are going fast. It's going to be a fun time here in Atlanta on Saturday. And even moving towards that, I mean, when you got told you were doing this game for Atlanta United versus CF Montreal for the home opener, I mean, how excited are you to get to come to the Benz and with everything going on, getting the chance to come and be a part of the call?
Yeah, look, very, very excited. Love doing occasions like this. Love doing big games, and I know it's the opening day, right? So we've got a long season ahead of us, but I can already tell that the occasion is going to be exceptional. It's going to feel like a big game and a big occasion because the simple fact of the matter is, Madison, it is. And there are a handful of markets that I think do big occasions better than others, and Atlanta is one of those markets. But I'm excited because I haven't been to Atlanta for a couple of years now. For an MLS game, for sure. I was fortunate enough to commentate on Chelsea Club America at the Benz last summer, which was a great feeling. It was wonderful to do that, and the crowd was great, and it was a really good occasion and wonderful to see that facility. But I'm very excited to sample it now from an Atlanta United point of view, and to see how the fans are, to understand a bit more of the footballing culture. We get in on Friday, and I'm looking forward to spending some time in coffee shops and whatnot, and just listening to people talking about the game because they will. I've been in football cities across the globe where this happens, where people are just talking about the game, and I'm excited to do that and just listen to what people are saying and embrace the excitement. I think that's the most intriguing thing that I'm looking forward to.
I wish I could give you recommendations for coffee shops in Atlanta. All I know is a lot of them up here in Marietta and Kennesaw. So if you're up in that area, I got you. But I don't have any recommendations in Atlanta, unfortunately. But I know that there's a lot of good ones. So you'll have a lot of options to choose from when you get to Atlanta, which will be nice. But one thing, looking at Atlanta, and the way that they've obviously handled the transfer market, getting Latte Latte, getting Miguel Almiron back here. You got Saba, you got Maranchuk. What are you expecting to see from this offense? And what are you expecting to see from those specific players as you head into Saturday?
Goals, and a bucket load of them as well. Honestly, I think this is, and the thing is here, Madison, I don't even think there's a debate. I think this is the most mouth-watering front line across the entirety of Major League Soccer. You cannot convince me otherwise at the moment. And look, I understand there's some really good front lines at the moment, and that's always going to be the case now with the amount of investments in Major League Soccer, which is obviously only a good thing for the league. But I was doing my notes the other day as I sort of frantically go through them in preparation for the game, and there's been 5 new players that have come in, obviously, over the course of the off season. But that front 4 in itself is an estimated cost of $46 million. We have never seen that in Major League Soccer before, and usually when you spend money like that, the product is usually not half bad. And so I would expect, and I don't have any insider knowledge at the moment. I don't have any lineup information or anything, but I think it's very, very difficult to not expect Emmanuel Latte-Lat to not start. If he doesn't start, I'd be beyond surprised, because you spend that sort of money on a centre forward. He's here for one reason and one reason only. I would assume it would be Lobjanidze on the left, Miranchuk in the 10, and Almiron on the right-hand side, and that would be the supporting cast. But Almiron's role will not be a wide player. He will not be a winger, so to speak. He will be very much an inverted attacking, almost like a 10.5, really. And so I expect Miranchuk and Almiron to combine on several occasions. And the one thing that I think Atlanta United now have that they haven't had in the last couple of years is a centre forward that can actually get behind the line and can actually do so with pace and can stretch the back line as well. So Latte-Lat is somebody that is blessed with pace. He's not the biggest guy, but to my understanding, he's quite a strong individual as well. So can, if needed, play that hold-up role in certain pockets of the game. But that obviously won't be his main role. So I would expect Miguel Almiron to get the ball on many an occasion and manoeuvre inside and try and slip it through the back line for Latte-Lat to latch onto. And if he doesn't do it, well, Miranchuk probably will. If not, Lobjanidze may very well have the best chance of doing it as well. So it is mouth-watering. I think that's the best term or phrase to use when you describe this Atlanta United front four. Also, who I'm assuming will start in the centre of midfield isn't bad either. Slish, I expect to be a little more reserved. But I do think Mateusz Klich, one of the most underrated midfielders in Major League Soccer last year. I didn't realise until doing the numbers, Madison. DC United obviously didn't have a great year last year. Mateusz Klich, in that team that didn't make the playoffs, managed to get 13 assists. So he's going to be somebody I think that's going to absolutely be involved in the attacking front and will almost be a perfect box-to-box number 8 midfielder. So I think the key area for me, though, in my understanding of how Montreal want to play, because I did Montreal a couple of times last year, and Ronnie Dyler said to us, and I agree with him, that they do overplay at times, but they are very good at it. Last year, Madison, they went with a five-man back line. And what that did for them from an attacking point of view was great. It gave them a lot of opportunities to play the ball into wide areas. We saw the likes of David Bugay and Jaquil Marshall-Rutty in the latter stages of the season when he joined from Toronto. Tom Pearce, who came over from England as well, has a wicked left foot and can cross a ball and pick out a pass like no one else. So they have really good options on the attacking front. But I just wonder what that does to them defensively, because the one thing that we saw several times last year is that was how they were exposed. And when you have somebody as lethal as Miguel Almiron and on the other side as Lobjanidze, yes, they're not traditional wingers, but I still think that sort of space where they are, I think there's going to be a lot more space than there usually is because of the high pressing fullbacks that I expect Montreal to play. So, look, it's going to be... are Montreal going to sit back a little more? Do they understand the task at hand? Are they a little more confident in the way that they want to go and play? I don't know. Montreal have brought in 11 new players. It's been an overhaul, although in Major League Soccer that seems to be sort of standard, really, doesn't it? But I think Montreal, will set up in a way that it's not necessarily going to be a low block, but I think they'll be counter-pressing. I think they may change things throughout the game as well, because Laurent Courtois has there's evidence there to suggest that he does that, and I've seen it physically several times. But I think honestly the wide areas are going to be the real threats from an Atlanta United point of view.
I couldn't agree with you more. When you look at the MLS season right now, and you look, obviously, I mean, adding San Diego, the 30th expansion team, what are your expectations for both the East and the West this season? And which team are you looking forward to the most in seeing where they stand as we get through the season? Very early on, even decide that now, but just from looking at everything, what are your predictions?
I'm looking forward to seeing Atlanta. I really am. It's honestly, for me, I think they are In the off-season, they were by far and away the most intriguing story because we all knew, and it was a shame really because I thought Rob Valentino deserved a crack, if not at Atlanta, certainly another franchise, and I hope he gets the opportunity at some stage somewhere. But I think we all knew that they had to go big. They had to go with a known name and an international manager that was full of experience, but also had experience in Major League Soccer as well, because this league's a different animal compared to the majority across world football. Ronny Deila is the perfect one to do that, given the fact he's won MLS Cup with NYCFC in the past. He also has such a glistening European resume that he's more than familiar with how to approach the game in different ways. He's more than familiar with how to deal with big characters and egos, and is more than happy to deal with expectation. He's managed Celtic, for goodness sake. I mean, Celtic are a gargantuan club across European football, and if you don't win, you know about it at a club like Celtic. The same could be said for Standard Liège and Club Brugge as well. These are massive football clubs, and so honestly, I think Ronny Deila was the perfect appointment for Atlanta United, and well done to Garth Lagerwey for getting it done. So look, I mean, Atlanta for me are a story in the off-season that will continue to be a story throughout the season as well. All eyes obviously on Miguel Almiron for obvious reasons, but I think a lot of people are very excited about Latte Lat, and I think the one thing that the Latte Lat deal does for me, Madison, is it does usher Major League Soccer into a new era. And I mentioned it briefly earlier on about it being a part of the global footballing market. I have friends back home in England, Middlesbrough fans that are friends, and they are absolutely devastated that they've lost their top centre forwards. But they've lost their top centre forwards to a Major League Soccer team. I never thought we would say that, at least not right now. Maybe in 15, 20 years, I thought maybe, but we're saying that right now, and that's incredibly exciting, because who knows where we're going to be now if we carry on riding this trajectory in 10, 15 years' time. There were Premier League teams that wanted him. Ipswich Town were desperate to sign Latte Lat. Nottingham Forest made an inquiry, and there was another team in there as well that were asking. So this is a very wanted commodity. It's a very, very wanted player, and yet he's ended up in our league, he's ended up in Major League Soccer. For me, that is beyond exciting, and also beyond integral in terms of Major League Soccer turning this corner now, because what this does is it sets the standard. And Major League Soccer has long looked at Atlanta United to do that. But I think now what this does is it, because of the loosening of the salary cap and the loosening of loosening of the internal ability to do deals, I think what this does is it does force other club ownerships to put their hand in their pocket, because they have to compete. Such is the demand of fans across Major League Soccer now. People will not stand for being mediocre, and I don't blame them either. So I'm very, very excited, because I do think Atlanta United have helped manoeuvre Major League Soccer into a new era, and I wonder just how long it'll be before the likes of a $20 million signing may not necessarily become a regularity. But I wonder how long it'll be until we see that done by not just one team, 5, 6, or 7 teams, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's going to be a fun season, especially with all the turnings that every team has been doing, especially Atlanta United, especially as we head into Saturday. I know for one, I'm excited to get to see it and getting to be there Saturday. It's going to be a ton of fun. But Callum, thank you so much for taking the time with us, and we'll see you there at the bench on Saturday for hopefully a sold-out crowd.
Yes, absolutely. Look forward to it, Madison. I'll see you there.